This is great. And also, of course, this goes without saying, you guys are cool, you get it, but don't take any pictures, don't take any videos, and please don't heckle. I can't imagine what an NPR heckle would be like, though. It's like, you're not fully considering the socioeconomic impact of what you're saying, sir. You're no Kai Rizdal. Big Kai Rizdal fans, right on, brah. I really love playing here in Seattle, and when I was here once, this wasn't this time, but last time I was here, I did find on the ground as I was walking a magazine that was entitled Tinkle Digest. I don't know what was in it because I didn't touch it, but I took a photograph of it to send to my friend because I thought it was funny, and on the cover of Tinkle Digest was just a photograph of an elephant with a tiny bird on its back and an old Asian man in a boat. So your guess is as good as mine as to what was inside Tinkle Digest. I have no idea. But I took a photo of the cover, texted it to a friend who I haven't texted with in about 6 months, and I just sent it by itself with no explanation. And he immediately texted back, "Who is this?" Understandable. Just sent Tinkle Digest by itself. I said, "It's Kurt. Saw this, thought you would think it was funny." He immediately responds, "You got the wrong number." Turns out I did. I had just texted Tinkle Digest to a stranger. Now, normally, this is where a text conversation ends, but instead I texted back, "You're a wrong number." And he immediately texted back, "Listen, pal," which is a great way to start a text. "Listen, pal, I don't know who you're trying to reach, but you got the wrong number. I do not know of anyone by the name of Kurt." Again, ample opportunity for this to end. But instead I text back, "You probably know me by my street name." And he writes back, "What's your street name?" And I was like, "Oh no! What is my street name?" I didn't know what to write, and so I got a little drunk and I just wrote, "Doctor Depends." And he didn't respond, and I followed it up, "Like the adult diaper, but a doctor." I thought we could have been best friends, but no, he never responded. I was recently at a dog park, not because I have a dog, but because I like to creepily stare at other people's dogs. And I saw this one dog, he was humping this other dog, and the woman who owned the dog doing the humping just went, "Oh, no, that's a bad idea," and just reached down and grabbed him by his harness and lifted him off mid-hump, and then he just continued to hump mid-air. And then she put him down, he kind of hump walked away. And I was like, "That's amazing!" But I wish I had had that in my life when I was single. Like a giant hand that would reach down from the sky and intercede when I was making bad decisions in my life. Just like, "Oh, no, that's a bad idea. She's incredibly emotionally unstable. Oh, no, her Maroon 5 t-shirt is not ironic. Oh, she has more cats than toes." Which raises the question, does she have 11 cats or has she lost toes? I travel a lot as a comedian, so I obviously spend a lot of time in airports and hate airports. I hate them a lot. I mean, do you guys remember train stations? Train stations were built as cathedrals to human ingenuity. And then they got to airports and they're like, "Meh, fuck it. Let's make it look like a maintenance hallway of a mall in 1984. Like Terminator 2 is gonna start up at any second back here." But I get this thing, when I get into security, I get really nervous and anxious for no reason. Like, I'm immediately like, oh no, did I pack my gun that shoots drugs? Like, that's not a thing. I just invented that, and now I'm worried about it. But I found out the best way to go through security. You guys can use this. When you get to the thing that spins around and nobody knows what it does, but somebody's looking at you naked, when you get to that thing, instead of asking for a pat down, you just say, I'd like the free body massage. They're not gonna know what you're talking about right away, but finally they'll lead you off for a pat down. That guy's first question to you is, do you know how this works? And you just go, oh yeah. And then as you get pat down, just moan just a little bit. Just like, Did you find anything? If all of us do that once, that will disappear. And then, when you're in the airport, you're just trapped. You're just trapped. And the only things to eat are Sbarro and Cinnabon. Sbarro, which in Italian means, don't put that in your mouth! And Cinnabon, the only food scientifically proven to smell 1,000 times better than it tastes. And I don't know, so there's something about flight delays that I get them all the time, and it makes me existential. I was at the Denver International Airport for 6 hours the other day, and I saw this moment that I thought perfectly encapsulated the meaninglessness of life. I saw a cleaning lady come upon just a lone flip-flop, just by itself. You know, and I saw her pause for just a second before she sweeped it up and threw it away. Just pause for a moment like, oh, what fresh absurdity has life thrown in my path today? A single flip-flop. A useful item in a useless context. There's no other flip-flop around. It's now become trash. It's her job to get rid of these things, and I can see her contemplating like, oh, I don't want to throw this away, but I have to. You know, she probably doesn't want to work at the airport, but I'm sure it pays a little bit more than working at somebody's house, and at least there, nobody's going to accuse her of stealing anything. And I know on some level she knows that that flip-flop came from dinosaur stuff. She knows that billions and billions of creatures died for no reason, only to sit in the ground, sit for an unimaginably long period of time, only to be pulled, lugubriously pulled out of the ground by men, greedy men and dirty men, and made into polyurethane, and then assembled, probably by a Mexican child in a factory, where they chain lock the emergency exit so nobody can run out for a smoke. And I'm sure that flip-flop thought it was gonna have the best life, just flipping and flopping, going on vacation, getting ice cream, not here alone by itself on the floor of the Denver International Airport. And she just swept it up and threw it away, back to the ground from whence it came. And I remember seeing that flip-flop and thinking, it was worth throwing that flip-flop on the ground for that. All right, we're gonna get this show started. Before we do, I used to write all my stand-up on these large Post-it notes, like large poster-sized Post-it notes. And so in the first room of my apartment, when you would come into my apartment, it was just covered in my writing. And my friend Albertina came over one day and she was like, you can't bring a woman back here. You look like the Unabomber. And I was like, what are you talking about? These are all funny jokes. And she says, it just says here, do bad decisions exist, ? And I was like, that's a funny joke. She's like, no, that's a crazy person thought. But this was her idea. She said, you know what would be funny is if you wrote on your wall, list of people I need to kill, and then had like 8 names with the first one crossed off. I was like, that is funny. So I did that. But I thought it would be even funnier if the last name just said random. So flash forward like 3 months, and I have finally convinced a young lady to come back to my apartment with me. And as I'm putting the key in the door, I remember that I have a list of people I need to kill on my wall that needs some explaining. She sees it, she kind of freezes. I go into repair mode. I'm like, this is a joke. I explain the whole thing. I'm a comedian, this is the whole thing. And she calms down. But then I just can't help myself. And I slowly cross off random. And she left. She totally left. But she called a car. I waited outside with her. You got to admit, it's pretty funny. I committed to that bit. She's like, you're going to die alone. I was like, oh, yeah,